Hey everyone, have you ever watched top-tier competitive standard dancers and just kind of wondered what their secret is? You know, how they manage to look impossibly tall, incredibly elegant, and, unlike the rest of us, just perfectly in control as they glide across the floor? Well, you are definitely in the right place today. This explainer is diving deep into the ultimate cheat code in partner dancing, the frame. It's literally the invisible architecture that holds all the magic together. So we're going to decode exactly how to build that perfect standard ballroom frame right from the ground up. Here is our blueprint for today's breakdown. We'll hit 1. Defining the ballroom frame. 2. Building the posture foundation. 3. Shaping arms and hands. 4. Creating elastic partner connection. 5. Keeping frame through movement. And finally, 6. Fixing common frame mistakes. All right, let's jump straight into section 1, defining the ballroom frame. So our source material defines a proper frame as the visual and physical structure that shapes lines, supports partner connection, and creates consistent movement. And what really stands out in this definition is the emphasis on it being an entire physical structure. Because let's be honest, so many dancers think a frame is just where you put your arms, right? But because ballroom is deeply partnered, your frame inherently includes how you stand, how you shift your weight, and how your whole upper body connects to the person in front of you. It is a completely integrated system. And the payoff? Well, when your frame is set correctly, you literally look taller and way more in control. Whether you're sweeping across the floor in a waltz, or you're navigating the crazy intricate timing of a slow foxtrot, or just flying through a quick step, the frame is the exact thing that gives you that commanding aesthetic presence. Honestly, it projects total confidence before you even take your very first step. Moving right along to section 2, building the posture foundation. Okay, let's walk through physically stacking your body step by step like a piece of fine architecture. First up, start with a beautifully upright spine and pair that with a slightly lifted chest. Second, make sure your ribs are stacked directly over your hips. Third, you've got to engage that core. And fourth, consciously, and I mean really consciously, relax those shoulders down and away from your ears. If you're listening right now, try to actually feel that. Build it right up from the floor. Now, the absolutely crucial point here is the middle of that stack we just talked about, steps 2 and 3. Keeping your ribs stacked directly over your hips is what prevents that dreaded overarched back. You know the one, where we think we look super dramatic, but actually we just look like a collapsing Jenga tower. When your ribs are stacked and that core is fully engaged, your posture simply won't suffer a structural collapse the moment you have to transfer weight from one foot to the other. All right, section 3, shaping arms and hands. Time to put up the walls. To get that classic standard look, you really want a rounded shape flowing through the upper arms and the elbows. The cue to keep in mind is steady and lifted, which allows your forearms to feel comfortably supported. Now, contrast that with the habits that just completely destroy the shape. Sagging elbows, those little T-Rex arms, or reaching way out for your partner. That reaching just creates a tense, strained connection. It breaks the beautiful, steady outline of a proper frame. You only want enough tension to hold the structure, nothing more. Let's zoom in on the final little detail here. The hands. They are the primary contact points of your walls. Your hands need to be firm, but absolutely not rigid. Your fingers should be relaxed, elegantly elongated, and whatever you do, seriously, no gripping your partner's arm. Maintaining clean, even tension right here at the hands is the absolute secret to keeping your frame totally consistent while you're traveling and turning. Which perfectly brings us to section 4, creating elastic partner connection. The source material uses such a fantastic phrase for this, elastic support. It's just an incredible way to visualize the connection. I want you to imagine there is a very light pressure between you and your partner. It's soft, but it's not collapsible. It provides just enough resistance to communicate where you're going, but it acts exactly like a bungee cord. It never hits a point where your arms lock stiffly or your posture tightens up. It breathes, it stretches slightly, but it never ever breaks. On to section 5, keeping frame through movement. So here is the golden rule of standard travel. You absolutely must maintain that steady upper body structure while the legs and body do all the heavy lifting beneath it. Try thinking of your frame as this quiet, serene carriage riding on top of a really powerful engine. Because when dancers rush their steps, their torso starts chasing their feet. The chest drops, the head pitches forward, and suddenly the carriage basically falls right off the chassis. Let the movement flow from the body and keep that upper structure totally independent of the lower body's drive.
But what happens when we throw intense rotation into the mix? Ask yourself this: why does the frame collapse during rotation? When you're trying to pull off a complex turn and suddenly everything falls apart under the pressure, what actually went wrong structurally? Well, according to the analysis, if your frame breaks in a turn, it almost certainly stems from one of exactly three structural failures. Number one, the shoulders start rising up towards the ears. Number two, the core becomes unengaged, basically turning to mush. Or number three, the arms start hanging instead of remaining actively supported from the back. Let's learn how to troubleshoot. Section 6. Fixing common frame mistakes.
Here's a quick, rapid-fire diagnostic checklist of the most common errors that will absolutely ruin your lines and just kill your responsiveness to your partner. First, raised shoulders. They create massive tension and shorten those elegant lines. Next, locked, rigid arms. They make your turns look totally mechanical. Then you've got sagging elbows or wrists, which weaken the whole outline. Overarching the lower back severely messes with your balance. And finally, if your frame is literally changing mid-turn, it usually means your posture completely collapsed or you just rushed your footwork.
Now, when you're troubleshooting, you have to fix these issues one at a time, working from the inside out. If you notice a problem, say you realize your shoulders are creeping up, don't just jam your arms down. No, you want to reset the structure piece by piece. First, recenter your posture. Go right back to that foundation. Once your core and spine are right, then recheck your arm shape. And finally, reestablish that elastic connection with your partner.
I know it sounds like a ton to juggle all at once, but here's the ultimate reward for doing all this hard work. With consistent practice, your frame actually becomes an automatic, stable structure. You eventually won't have to consciously think about stacking your ribs or keeping that elastic support. The physical mechanics just become second nature, and that leaves you totally free to guide smooth movement, naturally interpret the music, and, actually enjoy the dance. But here's the catch. You can't always feel your own mistakes. It is incredibly easy to trick yourself into thinking your frame is flawless when you're just looking straight ahead into a studio mirror. So I want to leave you with this final thought. Have you asked your coach to check your frame's true consistency from the side and front angles lately? Those specific angles, they reveal the undeniable truth about your posture and your arm outline. So take action this week. Have someone record you from the side, analyze your structure, and get out there and start building your perfect ballroom frame.